Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Glad you could be here. If I sound a little bit like the Godfather, it's because I've been recovering from a head cold or sinus infection or something, but I'm here for you. I'm like the mail. I never stop. I wanted to provide you some good book-related content today, and gosh darn it, I'm gonna do it. So, without further ado, let's get right to it. I wanted to do a book review for you today on Fahrenheit 451. I have never read this book up until recently, and it's classic dystopian sci-fi. A lot of schools actually make it required reading for kids. I'm actually surprised I was never required to, but looking back on my childhood in the little backwards town I grew up in, maybe I shouldn't really be that surprised. But a lot of sci-fi nerds are probably thinking, man, why have you never read this book? I don't know. I just never have. I wanted to, and now I finally have. This book follows Guy Montag as the primary pro-antagonist. I mean, he starts off as an antagonist who goes pro. And he is a fireman, and in this world, firemen do not put out fires. They start them. And they start them because people are reading too much and getting ideas in their head, and ideas and books are bad, and so the firemen have been tasked with burning down the establishments and the homes that are promoting reading and thinking. And, you know, it's very, very Orwellian in its approach. If you're familiar with 1984 and the thought police and things like that, it is very much a similar idea, but the thing that is really being sought out to be destroyed is books and the ideas they promote. Just a fantastic idea. To start off with, as I was reading this book, I was amazed at how forward-thinking and really visionary Ray Bradbury was for his time. I mean, the ideas that he puts forth in here are coming true today. I mean, just in terms of the technology that he talked about, flat screen TVs where you've got constant entertainment and constant information being thrown at you on a daily basis, and little earbuds that fit in your ear where you can listen to information and get feedback and talk to people. This is stuff that's in this book that is ubiquitous today. I mean, we're just bombarded with all this stuff today. This is our modern culture, and he was not writing in our modern culture. He was writing in the early to mid 20th century. This is deep stuff, guys. It's really important to understand that there are writers out there that just make these eerie predictions that come true. So back to the story, Guy Montag is a fireman. He's just gotten off a job, and he happens to meet this girl in the streets, and she is completely different from anybody that he's really met before. No one in his circle of friends is really like her. She's talking very different and talking about the way she sees the world and the ideas she has about the world, and she sees him in a way deep down to his core that nobody's ever dared to probe, or in a way that nobody's really ever looked at him before. It's not just conversation on the surface, oh hi, how are you today, that sort of thing. She's just talking about stuff that he really doesn't fully understand. And she's just completely strange to him at first. But then he realizes that he craves that kind of conversation and that those kind of ideas. And he keeps going into work, and eventually realizes that he doesn't know why he's going into work and doing the things he does. And he starts to question his reality. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I love about Fahrenheit 451 is how important it is to question our reality, question why we do the things we do. And he starts to question, why are books so bad? And there's a point in the story where someone goes to the greatest lengths to protect their books and to protect the right to information and the right to think and the right to create new ideas, that they were willing to die for it. And that is when the light bulb just fully goes on in his mind, and he realizes people are willing to die for these books. And then he starts to read little lines out of books, and he even goes so far as to read one in front of his wife and her friends, and just completely rocking their world. You know, they don't want to hear these things because they're forbidden. They're forbidden in society. And this is a society that has grown up on the idea that Benjamin Franklin was the originator of the people who set fire to books. And they've never known any different. They've never questioned it. This is all new and fresh. And eventually Guy gets in contact with a well-known professor who's in retirement, and they start to kind of work together to uproot the society that has been built on the sidelines. And he puts him in connection with other people, and eventually Guy decides to leave the firemen altogether and go on the lam and try and subvert everything that he's known and believed. And it's just an amazing story of an awakened mind who has decided he's not going to be fed the truth anymore. He's going to find out what he really believes to be the truth. And I can't recommend this book enough. I'm sorry I waited so long to read it. I really am. But I was just constantly blown away by how forward-thinking Ray Bradbury was in writing this. Not only the technology that he puts across in the book that he talks about, but also the society that is completely given over to misinformation and never questioning authority and never thinking for themselves. That's very much our society today. And we've got so much information flying at us, people telling us what's true, and we're constantly just believing it and never questioning it. Now, there is a reason behind why the firemen do what they do, and that's because there are so many ideas out there that people never question, and they go off on one whim and then they go off on another whim because this guy says something else. There's never a hard line of what they know to be true. So they've decided, get rid of ideas altogether and just tell people one thing that's true and let them follow that. So I get why the firemen are doing what they do, but they've gone so far to the opposite extreme of only having one hard line of truth that they built their society on, that people no longer think for themselves at all. They no longer listen to anything else. And they can't, because all the books have been destroyed. It is a fascinating look at a dystopian society that has gone from one extreme of following every idea that's out there and never having anything you can nail down to the extreme of there's only one path, and that's the government, that's the firemen, that's this regime that has been set up that tells you what's true, and that's all you follow. And the truth is, you gotta kind of land somewhere in the middle. You want to question the ideas that are fed to you, but you don't want to get so set on one hardcore truth that you're closed-minded to everything else. And that's the message I got from Fahrenheit 451. And you may be like, dude, it's a work of fiction. Come on, why are you reading so much into it? Yeah, it's a work of fiction, but you can't help but talk about ideas in your fiction and make people think. I like books that make me think, fiction or non. And I like to be able to get something out of the books I read other than just a fun time. And believe me, this was a really fun book. It was a really engaging read. I found it very action-packed, but it was also very thought-provoking. And I highly recommend it. It's only it's not even 200 pages long, the actual story. The rest of this particular edition has commentary, which, to be honest, I haven't really had a chance to get to yet. But the actual story itself is just amazing. I highly recommend it. Now, the movie. If you are going into the movie with the intention of having a good time, you're going to be very entertained. The movie I thought was really fun. Lots of action, a lot more than the book actually, which isn't saying something bad. The book had plenty of action, but the movie really ramped up the action. You know, it's a movie. They got to throw stuff in there. And it still put across the ideas that were in Fahrenheit 451 mostly. There were a lot of changes. And if you're not a fan of movies that change the stories they're adapting, you may not like the movie. It stars Michael B. Jordan in the lead role of Guy Montag. And there's several other well-known actors that portray some of the roles in the movie. But there was a lot that was changed. And I'll be giving a few spoilers here as well. So minor ones, but just so you're aware, there are some spoilers. The girl in the book that he meets that I mentioned, in the movie, she actually ends up becoming his girlfriend. His wife doesn't even exist in the movie, and you know, she's definitely in the book. The professor is not in the movie either, the professor that he meets in the book. And so many changes. There's an underground movement to get information and knowledge and books back out into the mainstream that you don't really see in the book until kind of the end of the movie, and it's not really given much weight. You know, it's kind of there, and the book eventually ends and goes about its business. It's very much a secret society in the movie that is planning this big upheaval and catastrophe to rock the society and get the information out there, and it's very much antagonistic, much more so than in the book. They really overhyped that. And the ending was completely changed. And I'm sorry, folks, I'd have to give the movie a 4 out of 10. It was entertaining. If you divorce it completely from the book, but I would not recommend it for people who are looking to get a high quality adaptation of the book itself. Watch it for fun, but it was just kind of one of those movies that you watch once and probably never watch it again unless you're really, really bored and you've got nothing else to watch. But in our society, there's no such thing as having nothing else to watch. So that's my personal take on it. Michael B. Jordan was a really, really good fit for the role of Guy Montag. I thought he did an excellent job. But other than that, that's about all I can say for the movie. So, read the book, watch the movie if you want to, but prepare to think with this book. And I mean really think. Don't go into it just as a entertaining read. Go into it ready to set your preconceived notions aside and wrestle with the ideas that Ray Bradbury puts across. I will definitely be reading more Ray Bradbury after this. I've had a lot of his books on my TBR list. So I'm very much looking forward to reading more of his stuff. Have you read this book? I'm sure a lot of you have. What were your thoughts on it? What did you get from it? Did you get different things than I did from the book? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts were. If you've never read this book, like I hadn't up until now, let me know in the comments if you're more excited to read it now, if it's going to go on your TBR. And let me know if you're not planning on reading it after this review, why not? What is it that makes you just not really that interested in the book? So I'd be really curious to see what you think. Let me know in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe. Click the notifications so you get notified for my future videos. Make sure to share with all your friends so that they can see my videos too. And as always, I want you to make sure that you are reading more books. I will see you in the next video. Bye.